would also like you to address just like, how do you do your research? How do you find those small
That's
rooms?
exactly what I was going to say,
Great.
Sarah. We're on the same page. All right. So one great resource that I just want everyone here to maybe be aware, it's what I've used a lot. It's called indieonthemove.com. If anyone knows, it's just like an aggregation of a lot, like so many different rooms. They'll tell you if you're looking to do a tour, they'll tell you the different rooms city by city in every. You can search by state. That's one way to kind of figure out. That will come really helpful in like bringing your like really packing in your dates when you're going to do something like that. And then maybe another way that is really valuable is looking at some of the peers groups that you think are doing it already, kind of something that you want to do. They give you like their tour lists and where they're playing, and those will give you an idea at what you're aiming for. And even if it's it might be knowing that 100 cap room that is like pretty would be really good for you, but all you can book in that town is like the 30 cap Café to start getting that history, to then be able to approach that 100 cap room with like, hey, I've been in town before, and they see your packed schedule, and then they're looking at you with more interest at that point. Did I kind of do that right? I think I did.
There was a band that started playing here probably about, might be as long as 10 years ago now, called Driftwood. And they're from Binghamton, New York. And they got in touch with me about playing, and I loved their music, but I was like, is this gonna possibly work? Do they have any fans in the area at all? And I talked to them, and they said that they had been working really hard, and they were a little embarrassed to talk about it because they thought that it, like, the tier that they had been playing in this area was like below this room, and that I might look down on them for having played those gigs. But basically they said they had been working a lot of bars around the Albany area, and that they felt like they would be able to bring some fans to the show. Well, they did. They sold it out their first night here, and they've sold out every show that they've done here. It's hard for me to get them now. They work for New Frontier Touring. They're touring all over the country. They are just an incredibly hardworking band that's modest and rolls up their sleeves and wants to knock everything completely out of the park. And so they did exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's been key, I think, in a lot of the success that we've had. I don't have anything to add, I don't think.
Okay.
There's nothing. There's a big empty hole thinking about anything else to say.
And that is everything that Karl knows about music.
That's it. No questions, please.
That's right.
Just kidding.
Let's talk a little bit about, I would think that at the outset there's probably a temptation to take any gig whatsoever. Talk about the pros and cons of doing that, especially you guys who have been out there. And Danielle, you can also talk about it, because I'm sure there are these, like, you book tours where there's like maybe 7 out of 10 dates that you were trying to fill have filled with really prestigious stuff, and then you've got those other 3, and what do you do?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that end of things.
Okay.
Sure. Do you want to start, Karl?
I just talk.
Okay, all right, I'll start. I definitely do run into this, especially with artists that have a great history and have been around a long time, but maybe it's sort of a new market, or it's a way to make the budget work for a tour where there's only maybe 3 anchors in what needs to be a 7-date tour or something like that. And it's definitely come to hurt us where we might work with a venue that is appropriately sized, but then maybe the tech isn't quite what the band expected, but is pre-approved by the manager. And then it ends up being, excuse my French, a shit show all around where, come day of show, I'm getting calls on my cell phone on a weekend from the venue saying, I've had enough of this band. And then, I'm getting an email from the band saying, what's going on here? What's up with the back line? And I'm like, well, your manager, approved, this situation in advance. And so part of the reason for all of this problem was a lack of appropriate advancing of a show. But, really, I needed a play in this city because of routing. The room was appropriate, I believe, but maybe the actual, really the tech in this instance was not maybe appropriate in the long run. And
I just want to clarify one point, just in case anybody's not following that. So, like, for example, backline might be the venue is supposed to supply the drums
right.
for the show, or is supposed to supply a 7-foot Steinway grand.
Yes.
And the person shows up and there's actually a really sweet little Casio keyboard. Or like a box drum, a cajon.
Right. Or the opposite. Like, certainly there's plenty of venues where they have a Steinway grand, but the band, because of their sound, really wants electric keys. So that's often the case. But it's so now that I know certain things about this venue, it was a new venue for our agency to ever have worked with, but it was a decent sized venue. It was a 300-seat venue. Now I know better, though, really how this venue feels about supplying backline and what their capabilities and wishes are. And so now I know not to pitch particular artists to this venue. But at the outset, I wouldn't say that there was anything that clued me into that. Yeah.
How about thinking about this crowd some, like you may be out there trying to do a little listening room tour, but there's, you've got to string together your 3 listening rooms with a bunch of bar rooms.
Over bar rooms, honestly, I would say house concerts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
House concerts can actually be really good income earners, right? Yeah. So it typically provides you with dinner, typically provides you with housing. So, and there's lots of great websites out there with just lists of house concert places.
For example?
Facebook groups.
For example, oh my gosh, I couldn't tell you honestly off the top of my head. If you just look for like House Concerts California, for example, I know that there's a whole like group that has a website there. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that handy, but I could certainly email you after the fact.
DIY tours on Facebook is mostly, that's like a Facebook group.
Oh.
I don't know that one.
And one other aspect, a real nice aspect of the house concert
That does
is
sound like a hip site.
very often you get 100% of the
Of the
take.
door, exactly. So you might earn $1,000, whereas if you were
Really?
at a small listening room, you might have only taken maybe 60% or 75% of the door or something like that. So yeah,
I think it can be kind of hit and miss though too.
it can be for
Definitely.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
Like we've definitely found being a band at some of those things. Like we played one time in like a basement that everybody was pounding the ceiling on, and it was like a metal like grunge feeling, and we had a great show. Like but it didn't do anything for us moving forward as a business.
No.
operation.
Yeah.
I don't think we got paid really too much either. So it's something to be. That's maybe the cards that you're kind of paying like. There people, is it going to be more of a party kind of
Right,
vibe? Is
right,
it, or is it going to be someone or a place that's going to be investing in your career going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'll say about house concerts, though, is that definitely you have to be the right kind of band for a house concert. You're going to, more the folky acoustic end. And I would say that I wouldn't use it as a stepping stone for advancing your career, but it's a great way to fill out a tour to make the budget work.
Yeah, and it's a great way to sell too.
Yeah.
Sell the merch.